Today, we are diving into one of the most incredible historical documents in the entire world, the legendary Bayeux Tapestry. It's a gripping story of kings, conquest, and even comets, all stitched into a single, massive piece of cloth nearly 1,000 years ago. First off, you've got to appreciate the sheer scale of this thing. It is absolutely colossal. We're talking nearly 70 meters, or 230 feet long. To give you some perspective, that's pretty much the length of an American football field. It's an epic piece of storytelling, and it's all done with a needle and thread. So you might be thinking, okay, is this the world's longest tapestry? And that's a great question, because it leads us right to one of the biggest misconceptions about this masterpiece. Because, get this, it's not technically a tapestry at all. See, in a real tapestry, the design is woven into the fabric itself. This is actually an embroidery where wool yarn was stitched onto a background of linen. So while we all call it the Bayeux Tapestry, and we're going to keep calling it that, it's a fun little fact to keep in your back pocket. Okay, first up, let's think of this as a medieval comic strip. Honestly, it's the perfect analogy. It's a complete visual narrative, cooked up in the 1070s to tell this epic story to an audience that, let's face it, mostly couldn't read.
So what's the story? Well, it's a huge one. This epic in wool and linen lays out one of the most pivotal events in all of European history, the Norman conquest of England. The whole saga unfolds over just a few dramatic years, all leading up to that one fateful year, 1066.
The whole thing kicks off in 1064 with a trip that just changes everything. Fast forward to January 1066, and bam, King Edward is dead, and Harold is quickly crowned the new King of England. But just a few months later, a terrifying omen lights up the sky. By October, William's army has invaded, setting the stage for one of the most legendary battles in history. So the story gets going when the English king, Edward the Confessor, sends his top guy, Harold Godwinson, on a mission over to Normandy. But the embroidery is a little vague on exactly why he's going, which, is where all the drama really begins.
After getting shipwrecked and briefly captured, Harold winds up in the court of Duke William of Normandy. And right here, in this absolutely crucial scene, Harold is forced to swear a super serious oath on holy relics. Now, the Norman version of the story says he swore to support William's claim to the English throne, and that moment becomes William's justification for everything that's about to happen.
But of course, back in England, things get complicated. The king, who has no children, dies, and on his deathbed, he seems to offer the crown to Harold. So now we have a huge problem. Two very powerful men with two totally competing claims to the same throne.
Harold gets crowned king almost right away, but then a star with a fiery tail blazes across the sky. We know it today as Halley's Comet. What's so amazing here is the detail in the lower border. You can see these ghostly ships hinting at the invasion that's coming. For people in the 11th century, this was a seriously bad sign.
And yeah, that omen, it comes true, and fast. When the news gets to Normandy, William is furious. He puts together a massive invasion fleet, crosses the English Channel, and lands his army on the coast without any opposition. And all of this leads to the bloody climax, the Battle of Hastings. The embroidery shows us everything. The English fighting on foot, creating their famous shield wall, while the Norman knights charge in on horseback. It was a brutal, grueling, all-day battle that would decide the fate of England for centuries to come. Okay, but the story in the main panel isn't the whole story. Not even close. This embroidery is absolutely packed with secrets, hidden in the margins and the stitches, mysteries that scholars are still fighting about almost 1,000 years later.
So the first and biggest mystery is just who paid for this incredible piece of propaganda? And who was it made for?
For centuries, a romantic French legend said it was William the Conqueror's wife, Queen Matilda. But today, most historians think the real patron was William's powerful and ambitious half-brother, Bishop Odo. So what's the evidence? Well, it was found in his cathedral in Bayeux, and a bunch of his known buddies are specifically named and shown in the scenes. It was most likely stitched in England by incredibly skilled Anglo-Saxon women.
And now we get to the most famous historical whodunit of them all. How did King Harold actually die at Hastings? The weird thing is, the embroidery seems to give us two different answers in the very same scene. Right, so the iconic image everyone knows is the one on the left, a guy with an arrow in his eye. But wait, look closely. Just to the right of him, another figure is being hacked down by a sword, and the Latin text that says Harold is killed is floating directly above that guy. To make it even weirder, some early drawings of this scene show a spear, not an arrow, and some scholars think the arrow was added in a later repair. The debate is still raging.
And this next part perfectly shows just how mysterious this whole thing can be. There's this one bizarre scene that shows a cleric touching the face of a woman named Elfgiva. To this day, nobody has any clue what it means. Was it a scandal? A political deal? We just don't know. It's a complete mystery, a secret that's been kept for over 900 years.
You know, the fact that we can even sit here and debate these mysteries is a miracle in itself. This fragile piece of linen and wool isn't just a historical document, it's a survivor. It has somehow made it through 9 centuries of war, revolution, and just plain neglect.
As its conservator famously said, its survival is little short of miraculous. I mean, during the French Revolution, it was almost caught up to be used as covers for military wagons, if you can believe that, before a local lawyer stepped in and saved it. Then, during World War II, it was seized by the Nazis. Heinrich Himmler himself was obsessed with it, before being rescued from the SS just days before the liberation of Paris.
So, after all this time, after all it's been through, why does this ancient embroidery still capture our imagination? Why is it so much more than just an old piece of cloth?
Well, for starters, it's a vital time capsule. It gives us this incredibly rare, vivid look into 11th century life, from weapons to clothing to ships. It's also a masterclass in political propaganda, brilliantly framing a brutal invasion from the victor's point of view. Artistically, it's a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of Romanesque art. And yeah, like we said at the beginning, you can totally call it a direct ancestor of the graphic novels we all love today.
And in what is just an incredible final chapter to its long history, the embroidery is scheduled to leave France for the very first time in its existence. The plan is for it to be loaned to Britain, returning to the very country where it was created over 950 years ago. It's a truly priceless record of a world-changing event, and it leaves us with one last thing to think about. What stories that we're telling today, and how are we telling them, will still be remembered 9 whole centuries from now?